What I've come to realize is that when people talk about productivity, they're actually not talking about productivity. They're talking about their insecurities. They're actually talking about how can I show to the world that I am somehow amazing, that I have something to prove or something to show. It does not have to do with productivity. In fact, I'm a big believer that you're as productive as you are. Everybody's productivity doesn't necessarily change that much. What ends up happening is um, you might learn some things that will improve your productivity, um, but in general, your behavior doesn't change that much. As we think about productivity, how we sort of view it, that um, that you're working harder or you're working smarter or all of those kind of things, I think is a load of baloney. Because you work at what you work at. And what makes you more quote unquote productive is because you have resources that are dedicated to the thing that you're working on. And before that, you didn't have those resources. And so, what people are actually talking about is it's a game. It's a show. It's kind of like this sort of false narrative that goes on where people are talking about, look at how amazing I am because I have X amounts of productivity being done, whatever that productivity is, whether it's counted in terms of how much money you have, or how much you're making in the stock market or whatever, or, you know, in my field in academia, it's how many publications that you have. And it's all just a false narrative. It's all just a facade. And why people actually do that is because they're deeply insecure about who they are as a person. And it's been really unusual. I'm going to say something that's probably not popular in terms of opinion, but moving to the States, and this could have been, so I'm Canadian and now I live in the United States. And this could have been simply because of how I was raised. My parents, they couldn't give a hoot about productivity and all of that kind of stuff. In fact, they railed against it day in and day out. And I think it, it left or created a very healthy lifestyle in me to push back against those things. But moving to the United States is sort of deeply ingrained, where you have to show how amazing you are, and it's part and parcel of the culture, with what's here, in that there is a sort of competitive framework where the only worth that you actually have is what your car is, what your house looks like, how much money you make, all of those kind of things. And um, I don't think, as a professor of innovation after studying this and living a lot of life, I don't think you actually get productive per se. And I know that's goes goes against a lot of literature that sort of looks at this. But I think those productivity gains that you're getting are not productivity gains in the fact that you're working super fast or you're working super hard, but it comes from resources that are dedicated to it. In fact, there's an old paper from the early 1990s that makes this basic argument with the learning curve, where it's just resources. In fact, there's several papers that talk about this, that it's just really a change in resources that they're getting, and we're not accounting for those things. So when somebody gets more productive, it's because they got some more money, or that they were able to hire somebody, for example, or whatever, all of those kind of things. All of that is really what's going on with productivity. And so I don't think that you necessarily, make this argument, right? One can make the argument that an analyst, the lowest bottom tier person at some company is less productive than the CEO of a 100,000 person company, right? They're making the 100,000 person company, the CEO of the 100,000 person company. They're making all these changes and they're making all of these sort of things that go on, but their day to day is not different. Maybe they work some longer hours, but in reality, it's a couple hours a day. Maybe they're working more. Um, Productivity is not necessarily that much different. They're sitting there doing the same thing. They're having the same breaks. They're having the same sort of kind of conversations and all of that kind of stuff. Um, I think it's a false nomer to focus on private productivity. I really truly think that's a falsehood to talk about productivity. In fact, what we should be focused on is, are you happy with what you're doing? Are you satisfied with what you're doing? And if you're not, um, maybe what we should do is look for ways that you could better fit with the environment, or find an environment that actually fits with what you're doing. I think that's more helpful, because what you should be thinking about is not necessarily how to improve your utility by ratcheting up effort, but improving your utility, as the economists talk about, by finding a better fit with what you're about. And everybody's utility function, if you want to talk about that, it's always going to be different between everybody in terms of what we prioritize, what we like, what gives us satisfaction. And we should be looking for things that sort of fit the puzzle, to make us happier, rather than thinking about, let's ratchet up how much you work. I think that's a false nomer. Anyways, that's just my 2 cents. Have a good one. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.